Anxiety is the fear of pending doom played out in your mind. It is just an illusion. It's no more real than a cheap magician trick. Yet, a lot of us, when we're pursuing our goals, are held back because of our anxieties, which can give rise to panic attacks in situations that are highly pressured, such as delivering that ace pitch, such as speaking to investors, such as leading a big team. So this video will help you identify those signs and symptoms, as well as develop your own strategy so you can go from being a warrior debilitated by anxiety to a warrior in pursuit of your own goals. Cue intro. Hi everybody, it's Dr. Simon D. here for another video for NobodyMotivation.com, where we aim to hit you up with videos on a weekly basis designed to educate, motivate and inspire you to achieve your biggest, brightest, boldest goals. Before we get into it, let me tell you a story that happened many years ago. At the height of the Roman Empire, there was a runaway slave fleeing from his master's house. He fled, fleeing the abuse. He fled into the fields, that the fields took him into the jungle. He ran and ran, fearing for his life. In the distance, he could see a small opening and he ran for it with all his might. Once inside this small opening, he observed that the opening became more expansive. He could smell death. He could smell the breath of an animal. What he found was the biggest ferocious lion pacing up and down in a semicircle motion. He was stuck. He knew if he made another movement, this would alert the attention of the lion, so he couldn't go back. The slave observed that this lion had an injured paw, for it was hobbling whilst howling, roaring in pain. He summoned up all his strength, all his courage, and approached the lion. He took the paw in his hand and removed the object that was causing the lion so much pain. It was a large thorn. The lion, in gratitude, happy for the thorn to be removed, did not eat this slave. In fact, the slave and the lion lived in this environment for quite a few months. Then one day, whilst out hunting, the two companions were now separated and captured by the slave master and his guards. The lion who was captured was taken away to be trained to go and fight in the Colosseums, which was the theme of the age. The slave was then sold to the emperor, who wanted to use him as a prequel for the gladiator games. So for months he was trained in the art of combat. Then on the big day, court was held. Everybody from around the area came to watch the gladiator games, and they pulled the slave out of his cage, and there he stands before the emperor. The emperor, who is seated at the highest vantage point, signals to his guards to release the lion out of captivity and onto the slave, who was standing there shaking, shield and now sword in hand. The lion, who's been pushed and prodded and starved for food for weeks, if not months, comes rushing out looking to claim his victim. But to the amazement, the lion, when it approaches the slave, it bows. It puts out its paw, and the slave recognized, this is the lion that I saved all those weeks, months ago in the cave. This is the lion. Surely it could not be, but it was. The two of them embraced. The crowd are in uproar, looking for the kill, screaming, kill, kill, kill. But the emperor, on seeing such a scene, summoned the slave before him. The emperor asked, what is happening here? What sort of magic have you used? The slave explained the whole story. And the emperor, upon hearing the story, was so amazed, decided to pardon the slave and give the lion its freedom. You might be asking yourself, what has this story got to do with anxiety? Sure, we can draw parallels to the slave when he first caught sight of that lion inside the cave. This could be similar to how you feel when you're doing your pitch. when you are delivering a presentation in front of people, when you're leading a team. These feelings of anxiety can give rise to fight or flight, when the body is then consumed with adrenaline, preparing itself for an imminent response. How can you deliver that pitch when you suffer from panic attacks? How can you even work the floor, networking, if you've got social anxiety disorders? Your heart starts to palpitate, which gives rise to fear that you might collapse or die. You might be fearing that, oh my God, people are going to see how sweaty, how clammy my hands are. How are you going to shake somebody's hand if your hand is full of sweat? How are people going to take you seriously when you feel that you cannot raise your arms because of fear of perspiring way too much? The feeling of being a fraud also comes about when you're anxious. So we have to take a closer look at what is happening psychologically when we are feeling anxious, so that we can address what we can do to deal with it. It is imperative that even in the state of heightened anxiety, you remain observant to what your body is trying to tell you, because your body will give you signs that something is not quite right, and you need to think of a strategy to try and calm down your body to then slow down your thought process. Because once you start thinking and ruminating of a pending doom, you can end up trying to or thinking that it's actually going to happen. Once the slave had come to terms with the fact that he's in a cave with the lion, he had no choice but to respond accordingly. And this is what happens. Sometimes you just got to trust yourself that your body, your mind will not let you down. If you flood yourself, if you fully immerse yourself in anything that's causing you stress or anxiety, you build up a tolerance to that. You develop your own way of coping with this stress. So please think about the immersification of whatever it is that is causing you stress or anxiety. This is how you're going to deal with any sort of panic attack. If you're scared of delivering a presentation with one person, think about a situation whereby you can put yourself forward delivering a speech in front of 10 people, 100 people. Volunteer and then practice. Fully immerse yourself in it. Don't run from it. You'll be running forever. You can conquer your anxiety. You just got to have a strategy for doing it. And just remember, you are not alone. Another way you can deal with anxiety is called the graded exposure technique. This is where you go in stages to address your anxiety. Say, for example, hypothetically, your biggest fear is crossing the road. Okay? Crossing a road. So if this is your challenge, you give yourself a series of different types of roads to cross. From a very quiet road leading up to a very busy road. Okay? And from each time you're crossing that road, I need you to write down the thoughts, the feelings, and especially what is the body doing in response to that fear. Okay? Write it down and then make strides with support to cross that road. Once you do the small road, you go on to a bigger road, a more busy road, until you get to the busiest road, opposed to flooding your senses instantaneously to whatever it is that's causing you anxiety. Both work. You have to figure out which one works for you. I find personally, I like to throw myself in at the deep end and see what happens. I'm still alive today, even though when I was having my doubts that I could achieve or do a public speaking event, I'm thinking, oh, if I go on stage, my trousers might fall down, I might have a heart attack. All these thoughts will rush through your mind, but it doesn't happen. And when it doesn't happen, you have evidence to support the view that you can actually do it. Then when you start believing and your heart trusts this history, then you'll find whatever it is that's causing your anxiety starts to dissipate. And also, as a mental health practitioner, I can tell you that anxiety, when it goes unchecked, gives rise to depression. So anxiety and depression, you can consider these two like brother and sister. When you're anxious, you're so worried about being anxious, it will lower your mood, which can lead to depression. So it's a vicious circle that you're in. When you're not anxious, you're worried about feeling anxious. So when you are anxious, you actually now got the evidence to support why you're anxious. And round and round you go. It's the same with depression, okay? These low bouts of mood. When you're not feeling depressed, you're scared, you're terrified, you're anxious about feeling depressed. Then when you are depressed, you've got evidence to support why you are depressed, okay? Again, round and round in a circle you go. So to control your anxiety. Look at the specific categories of interventions that you can deploy. Breathing techniques, okay? These are to do with your physicality. What can you do to your physical body to change the way that you are thinking, okay? So there's breathing, there's relaxation, there's muscle therapy, getting a good night's rest. These things you can do yourself. When you're anxious and your body is trembling and you're up before somebody that's holding the cards to your success, I want you to just speak the truth. Speak from your core. Speak to your passions. Speak to your values. And say anything that's aligned to these principles, even if your voice shakes. Speak, even if your knees are trembling. Speak, even if you feel that you're not articulating yourself with clarity. As long as it's aligned to your vision, to your passion, that will help you see yourself through. People in the audience are not there to boo and throw rocks at you or throw cabbage at you. They're not there for that purpose. This is not why you're here either. So please find confidence in my words, find confidence in your own ability to overcome any situation that's allowing you, that's causing you anxiety. And where required, talk with somebody, have a mentor, have a coach that you can talk through the problems. When anxiety goes unchecked for a long time, you might want to seek professional help. But there are many, many things that you can do before it even gets to that stage by deploying recognized, well-renowned coping strategies. So I'm going to close with a quote from Og Mandino from his best-selling book, The Greatest Salesman in the World. Weak is he who allows his thoughts to control his actions. Strong is he who allows his actions to control his thoughts. Always think positive, guys. It's all about making sure your name is synonymous with a verb. That means action, action, action. All of this means nothing if it's not applied and shared. Each one, teach one. This has been Douglas Hamadisha for NobodyMotivation.com. I'm out. Download your free 140 Rule ebook from the 140rule.com website. The links are below.